Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're gonna talk about network attached storage or NAS. So let's dive right into it. Now, first thing you have to understand this is the only thing that matters in your computer is the data itself. Everything else is replaceable. If you have a faulty RAM, you can replace it. If you have a faulty motherboard, you can replace it. Faulty processor, you can replace it. Faulty graphics card, you can replace it. Faulty hard drive, you can't replace it simply because it has all your data. So data is the only thing that is important, quote unquote, in your computer. Basically, it can sometimes hold more value than the computer itself. So if your computer is, let's say, $1,000, it can easily hold works in digital format that could easily exceed that. So that is one thing you have to understand. And another aspect is time makes many data points much more valuable. For example, let's say you take a photograph today and you properly backed it up. That does not matter too much today, but imagine looking those same picture 10 years from now. It will invoke another kind of emotions. Like I get the same thing because some of my photographs that I used to take in 2009 with my first camera phone, that was not even mine, one of my friend had it. It's like those are like giving me old emotion, like I was in school back then. So fundamentally, time grants value to those sort of photographs. Now other aspects are also there. For example, for business point of view, let's say you are archiving every single receipt that you are doing. Let's say you are archiving all of that. When did you bought this hard drive? When did you bought this SSD? When did you bought this SD card? That also provides you a perspective. Basically, SD cards are variable components, and I'm learning this the hard way simply because I thought, hey, I'm buying this extreme edition card, SD card from SanDisk and like top rated, the best reviewed, everything is awesome. I should be like buy and forget, but no, it does wear out over time. I did started to get that message like SD video recording stopped because SD card is slow. Now again, if I directly got that, I would have been freaked out, but because I kept all the data, I would realize that hey, this card served me for 2 years. Then I realized the next time I'm gonna buy a card, I'm not gonna shoot in 60 frames per second, I'm gonna shoot in 30 frames per second, so I don't wear out cards quickly. So that's why time makes data more valuable, and it will go for almost everything that is consumable. It's like knowing when you consumed it. That's awesome. It's like, let's say some company sells you a hard drive, it's like, dude, 3 years warranty. You have to know when that 3 years ends, and you have to like compare it to other companies. Like, hey, I bought from Toshiba and I bought from Western Digital. Toshiba literally died after the warranty ended, and Western Digital is keep going. Again, same thing would happen. Like there is nothing more valuable at that point in time than data, because data will explain to you like, should I buy from Toshiba or Western Digital? So data is very important, and time generally amplifies it. And some data are flat out priceless. For example, your kids, anything related to your kid's first child, and kids early years, anything related to that generally is classified as priceless. And sometimes you have official documentation. Many times documentations are digitized, but people do not take that seriously, and there is a whole industry of data recovery. Primary customer for that is tax returns, simply because they did collect the data but did not digitize it properly, backed it up, and they had hard drive failure. And then it's like, can you please recover the hard drive from it? Like, hard drive is barely worth anything, but the data on it is so valuable that they are spending thousands and thousands of dollars just to recover the goddamn data. So you have to understand, many time the data in the hard drive is far more priceless. And people generally wake up after accident, be it Linus Tech Tips, be it any Tom, Dick and Harry else. Like, unless you lose data, you will not know its significance. For me, it has happened simply because I did have a camera, and I think this is around 2010 or something like that. And we went, like my whole family went on a tour, and I took some photos and I copied it, but did not archived it properly. Then I was looking through it and I noticed, hey, wait a minute, some photos are not there. Like the whole holiday was missing. So I looked at the SD card, but at that time I had the habit of cleaning the SD card. It's like, once I removed it, I had the habit of cleaning it. It's like, no, nothing is there. But I tried to run backup software. Thankfully I got 3 days of the footage back, but one day was missing. Why? Because I have rewritten on that as part of that SD card. So after that I realized, no, one shall always back up the file. So you will only wake up once you lose something, and you really don't want those things to be important once you lose it, because trust me when I say this, from experience, it would be painful as hell. That's assuming you can recover. Now, the moment you go to any data analyst, the moment you go to any professional who is dealing, whose sole job is to make sure save the enterprise, save the office, save the basically your data, they will always speak the same thing. Weird things that you will hear from YouTubers to data analysts to every Tom, Dick and Harry talk about this 3, 2, 1. What the hell that means? That simply means important data must be in three places. Three independent copy must exist. So that's rule number one. Second, rule number two, basically three, you started now with two. It must be on two different types of medium, and you can easily notice this in enterprise. One of the data would be digitally on hard drives or SSDs, but second type would be always on tape drives, LTO tapes. The reason for that is simply because if there is a EMP happens, which solar storms can cause, or if there could some electrical outage or something bad happens to your electronic equipment, your data should not be corrupted because of it. So you could have a scenario where you have SSD that's like latest and greatest, but it had a malfunction and it roasted its own NAND chips. Your data should not be gone, because that will happen if you have all the data in one type of medium. That's why all the enterprise data are backed up in two medium, one in digital domain, another in tapes. Or for common people, you can utilize DVDs or Blu-rays. And if that, basically, especially for documents, DVD is more than good enough. Even 4 GB is more than good enough for document. Like you can scan the document properly, make it into PDF, and you can easily YOLO it for like few decades without any issue. And if you really want to do this on DVDs, try to buy M-Disc. M-Disc are specifically designed without inorganic compounds. They do require high level burners to burn them, but once you burn them, the component itself is far more reliable, far more long lasting. So that's why that's the two types of medium should be there. That oh, you had one electrical malware or one ransomware, tada, that should never happen. That has happened to Canon also, where they're like, okay, all the data was there, but it was not in two different systems. That's why ransomware cannot corrupt your tape drive, simply because it was not connected to it. It's barely connected only the time when the data is written, and all the previous data would be safe anyway. So two types of it. And then you have one thing, it's like one must be off-site. Now what does off-site mean? For some places, off-site could simply translate to, hey, I have my computer here, I have my NAS unit in my second floor, everything is awesome, but I have a third copy, the third copy somewhere else, like physically somewhere else. It could be my friend's house, but it has to be physically far. The primary reason for that is there are things that are way above human control. For example, fires, flooding, earthquake, theft. These sort of things generally makes all the backups you have useless, simply because, think of this way, this has happened where a building caught on fire. It's common thing, like type building on fire today, there will be like, okay, 10-20 buildings on fire today. That's common thing. So if all your data and backups of those data is exactly in the same place, it's useless. So fundamentally speaking, that's why the one is also there. So 3, 2, 1. And once you go become old enough, experienced enough with digital medium, you will learn this one thing very quickly. One copy of data simply means you don't have anything. 1 equals 0, 2 equals 1, and everything fails. Now 2 equals 1 simply means, like, if you have 2 copies, there is some chance that you will have that data. It's like something chance is there. And that's why all professional video camera and all professional photographic camera, they have dual card slots. You're supposed to be redundant, like you're always supposed to be make it redundant, because 2 translates to at least you have one chance. Like if a fault happens in your camera, there is 50% chance that only one SD card will be fried, or if the card itself fails, there is only 50% chance that your whole data would be intact, because likelihood of 2 cards failing at the exact same time is almost 0. So that's why 1 is 0, 2 is 1, and everything fails. Many times people are getting this false impression of SSDs, that SSDs come with a very long warranty. For example, my SSD on my computer is Samsung's Pro Grade 1, and it's like warranted for 10 years. Now, I expect it to run for 10 years, but here's the deal. What happens after that? So the data that I put on that, does that mean that data will remain there after 10 years? No. Why? Because data in a SSD is stored by what we call gates. Those gates trap electrons. So over time, if you left the SSD, over time it will simply gonna leak out. So there is a charge, quote unquote, built there. That charge will slowly leak out. And because every time you read and write it, you wear that gate down. So that's why when you talk about people talk about wear leveling on SSDs, that's what they are talking about. The gates are physically wearing down. So you never want to, like, okay, like let's say you have 6 chips, only one chip is like wearing down, so that will become completely useless. So they want to level it out. So that puts a physical limit on your SSD also. So if your SSD is being heavily used, do not expect it to last forever and ever. It will wear down. It will reach a point where it cannot hold the data. So you could easily have a scenario where it's like, dude, I have this SSD and I'm gonna pull it out and put it in safe, like everything is awesome, but you plug it out, directly plugged it in, like after 5 years or 6 years, like, wait a minute, why the heck there is no data on this? The electron gates cannot like hold charge infinitely. So you have to understand this, everything fails. That's why 3, 2, 1. And that's why, like, if you have this 3, 2, 1, you will instantly know which of the backup is working, which of them has failed, which you have to redo. So be mindful. People have learned this the hard way, and you have to learn this before it's too late. Now what is NAS? Like the whole point of this video, basically it's like external storage drive. So whenever you talk about like I need to buy a hard drive, many times people are nowadays, specifically with the age of laptops and all that jazz, they are buying SSD which are just like connected to USB 3.0. Now everything is fine and dandy, but only one person can use this, and this is not redundant equipment. So network attached storage is in the name. It's the same thing, storage, but using network. Benefit of this allows multiple user load. What does that mean? That simply means, think of it this way: if I have a NAS connected to my network system, many people can directly access it without any issue. It's not like, okay, one pen drive is connected to something else. No, it's like one is connected to the network, and as far as the network stretches, that many people can access it. Now of course there would be slowdown. Let's say a basic NAS can easily provide 25 Mbps read speed to 4 people, but if you're like 400 people, of course the read speed still would be there, but it would be 1 Mbps. So you get the point. So multi-user support is provided. So you have a small office, one NAS can easily provide 4 or 5 people without any issue. Then it always has generally multiple HDD. Why is that? Simply because hard drives are moving component, and we know from engineering, from long-term experience, that hard drives fails. And if you are old enough and experienced, you will have list of hard drives that have failed on you. So we always know that hard drives fail. So they're generally is put in such a way that you will have minimum of 2 hard drives, and if you have only 2 hard drives, both will be clone of each other. So if one hard drive fails, your data is not lost. And if you have let's say 4, you will build in such a way that at least any one hard drive can fail at any moment in time, and you should be able to just pull that defective hard drive out, put a new one in, and then rebuild the array. So and then again get your redundancy back again. So this is why we choose RAID most of the time, especially from anytime you have multiple people working on it, anytime you have large amounts of data, sooner or later you're gonna reach there, simply because you could have a point where it's like, dude, I have like 5-6 of these portable hard drives. Like, how would you know? How would you manage that? That's why using NAS becomes, over time it becomes like, dude, I have to use this. Now you have options. First options are ready-made option. The pipeline is very simple. You buy NAS, you buy hard drives. Now be mindful, these things are expensive. If you are not ready for it, to give you a context of that, small cars are like price of small car in India is equivalent to NAS prices. So flat out, these are expensive investment, but they do give you the advantage of being small and compact. What does that mean? That simply means if you are living in an apartment or even in an office, let's say if space is in a premium, having a giant computer block that is blocking a whole area, not desirable. So having small and compact, that is beneficial. However, that itself will not translate that much, but it has efficiency. What does that mean? These things, equipments are generally designed to run on bare minimum power. Basically, if they can make it run on 10 watts, they will make sure this puppy runs on 10 watt. What does that translate to? That means if it's running 24/7, you will not have a heart attack by looking at the electric bill. So that's another important part. And they work fine. Like companies, even though they are making using as a low power component as possible, they still make sure that it works as a storage server without any issue. Everything extra, that is limited, but as a storage server, basically as a giant hard drive that is connected to your network, it's awesome. You do not have to think about it. It's awesome. But if you want to do something extra, let's say you want to run a media server, or let's say you want to run a transcoding server, or basically if you want to do anything other than just utilize it as a hard drive system, then you will be limited by the manufacturer, because the manufacturer can simply say, hey dude, I can give you a system, I can give you a SSD array that is like super awesome and amazing. It is going to cost you an arm and a leg and a kidney. So you have to understand that, and they are very hard to repair or upgrade. Now repair part is like very painful, simply because many people realize that Synology apparently had an issue with their a whole batch, where their power supply started to die down. And this happened like globally, as in like it was so bad, like Synology increased their warranty just to compensate it. So like that bad. It's like, it's not 1 or 2 units. Like if you had Synology during that time period, your power supply will fail and you will be left with a dead hard drives. So very hard to replace. It's not a fixed component. You cannot just go and buy it. You can't replace it. So if data is time critical, it's like, dude, I need to finish this shoot, my NAS is down, you can't replace that. And then upgradability wise, let's say you started a small office, everything is working, you have a good cash flow. Now it's like, dude, I'm ready, everything is good. You may be like, hey, I think we need to upgrade our storage system. It's like, no, you have to buy a new one. You can't do much to this. Now of course, if you're buying a new one, generally they are capable of accepting around 10 terabytes of hard drives, single hard drive of 10 terabyte capacity. But if you have looked their prices, you'll be like, dude, it's much more cheaper to buy 4 terabyte hard drives, multiple of them, simply because right now, as of me making this video, 4 terabyte hard drives are like at the sweet spot. Now I'm talking in India. In USA it would be at different terabyte level, but there is always a scenario where it's like, yeah, you have 4 base, but it would be much more financially easy for you to get that large capacity by utilizing more hard drives. And at that moment you will be like, dude, these things are limited. So if you are thinking about, if you're just starting out, if you have like a single individual, photographers are very well known for that. If you are only looking for 2 bays or 4 bays, like 2 hard drives or 4 hard drives, these things are generally very well suited for that. Like if you're just starting out, like 2 or 4, these are awesome in those sort of scenario. Now be very mindful. Look at the hard drive prices, because I have provided Amazon link down below, but many times people are like, dude, I'm gonna buy this system, and they look at the price is high enough, so people think, oh, they get it, dude, there is no hard drive in this. It was written in the damn product pages, diskless, meaning you have to put the disk. And be very mindful, many of the system does not support, you can put like random hard drives. You have to put all of the hard drives should be same. Basically, if you put 4 terabyte in one, others have to be 4 terabytes. Ideally, if you do not want to have random read write errors, all of them have to be same brand, same everything. So you can understand that that's a very limiting factor. Now, the moment you are serious about this, or you want to do this for learning reasons, or you have a second PC laying around not doing much, people will simply say, just do it yourself. Now, the primary reason for that, from financial point of view, the moment you are talking about anything larger than 4 bays, even in India, you will find it far more financially viable to just build the goddamn thing. So it grants you complete control. Basically, control wise, many people like Synology, but many people like the reliability of Western Digital. They can't have it both. Here you can have it both. You can simply be like, hey, I'm gonna put Western Digital hard drives, but I like the Synology's fact that it allows us to have different kinds sizes of hard drive. You can utilize different kind of software to achieve that same effect while having redundancy also. So you can have that complete control. Repairability, basically, if power supply fails, you can replace it. Motherboard fails, you can replace it. RAM fails, you can replace it. Processor fails, you can replace it. So that means the uptime, the moment you have a fault, the moment you detect it, how quickly can you repair it, rather than wait, okay, I'm gonna go somewhere or do something else, try to do that like 5-10 days of downtime. That will not be the case. You can repair it. And upgradability, this is the point that makes it far more long-term investment. You may find it, hey dude, let's say a 4-bay system is costing you around let's say 25,000 in India, and making your own network system at bare minimum level is gonna cost you let's say 30,000. But the moment you invest that 30,000, you have now a road open to you where it's like, dude, I can keep stretching this puppy up as much as I want. You can start out with basic system where it's like, dude, I only have 4 SATA port on my motherboard, no problem. You can start out with 4, then like, dude, I need more, put a PCI card in. Dude, I need more bandwidth, like basically the 1 Gbps connection from network system is not good enough. You can put 2.5 Gbps card into, or even 10 Gbps card into it if you want to, if you have the network capacity for it. So that's the whole point. You can get complete control, you can do exactly what you want, you can repair it so downtime is very low, and you can upgrade it, and that alone makes it worthwhile in long term. And it allows you to have step-by-step scale up. So basically you start out with like 4 hard drives, then you add 2 more, then you add 6 more, and people can go on and on. That's up to you, because unless you have very deep pockets, like directly buying 8 or 10 hard drives from day one, that could be very painful. So again, I'm poor, but most people who are not, they will not care about it. So be mindful. Now, there is a consequence to this. In every way, shape, or form, these things are better solutions, simply because you have multiple layers of control, you have multiple layers of redundancy built into the system. But it does take more time and does take patience. If you freak out by looking into command line system, this may not be a very desirable solution, or you may end up doing something stupid if you are not patient, because most of these things, because they have been running in the background for 10 years, people have figured out, and right now it's kind of super easy at this point. It's like most of these things are auto configure, but you still have to be mindful, and they will tell you, like the apps that you are running, the software that you are running, flat out will say you do this for this, do this for this. You have to be, basically you have to have some time, and you have to be patient with it. You should actually read what it's saying, because many times people want, hey, I want this feature, and it will flat out tell you, do not use hard drive, basically SSD for cache, because if your power failure happens, the cache on the SSD may get stuck in a format where it get corrupted. Like it will flat out will tell you. Or it may say, hey, if you want to boost in this way, try to boost in write mode or read mode. These are the penalties for write mode, these are the penalty for read mode. So you have to read those. So you have to have a bit of time and bit of patience. Now, if you have those things, this is your jam, man. This is amazing. You can do quite bonkers things on cheap. Because flat out, the moment you compare, like let's say 8-bay prices, basically 8 hard drive, or anything above 4, the moment you exceed 4, there is no point buying a system. There are systems, but again, you must have very deep pockets. But if you build these things, not only you have complete control, you also have reliability and repairability, which are far more valuable, especially if your data volume is large. So that's why, like, you will always see Linus Tech is always building his own NAS. It's like, dude, Yes, I can pay someone, but if I build it myself, I know what can go wrong. I can repair it. So, and that's why you always have 3 to 1. So, because even these NAS, most common mistake people will do is like, hey, I'm going to delete the data from my computer and I'm going to put everything in NAS. That destroys the 3 to 1 backup system. You always have to have 2 copies of the data. So, your PC should always have the working file, and the working file should also be in the NAS. Then there is some probability you have at least 1 copy file. So that is the DIY route. That's why people chose it. The moment you exceed 4 hard drive capacity, this is your route. So this was my presentation on NAS. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.